What's crack-a-lackin' Toxic Room? My name is Toxiquid, and welcome back to the Heilige region. Not much has changed since your last visit, but if you want a reminder of what has happened since then, check out the previous video. But for right now, let's just jump right into it. We last left off at the revelation that Professor Cassid has joined forces with Team Catalyst, and what happens after is basically a press conference to try and address issues about Team Catalyst and try to recruit new members. After everyone disperses, you and Jazz run up to confront her about everything that has happened and why she's working for William. She then explains that she isn't working for him and that she's working with him to cultivate peace for all of Heilige. Jazz proceeds to call her bluff as he sees that she's already called out her Pokemon, and you prepare for a tussle with her, with Jazz tackling William's team. Holy shit, you actually get to fight Professor Cassid! She holds no grudges, but with you in the way, there's only one thing to do. Kick your ass with her team consisting of a fully evolved starter weaker to yours, Aardvenom, Celestork, and 2 new Pokemon. Hiya! It's Wamboo, the bow staff Pokemon. This grass and fighting type uses bamboo extracted from its hatching grounds to form a staff that will become its prized possession. It is a fighter at heart, so travelers have to watch out when they approach Wamboo colony territory. Also, hey look, is the evolution of Iron Ritanium. This steel and psychic type can manipulate the metal plating into many different configurations to suit its needs. It takes a lot of mental energy though, so it doesn't really do it too often. After losing, Cassid runs over to help William, who doesn't really need it as he is much stronger than his son Jazz. After Jazz gets crushed, Austin rounds up all the Catalyst members, old and new, and scurries out of Willow City. Jazz, furious about his defeat, rushes off to fight William in a rematch in Wildlands Route 9. You follow and you stumble into a new route with new Pokemon like Magnemite, Magneton, Floette, Darumaka, Hippopotas, and 4 new Pokemon. Up first is Cycle, the unhinged Pokemon. This Pokemon has been observed for many years, and their behaviors have been documented as erratic and aimless in their movements and battle style. They are very protective of their shoulder crystals, however, and will go berserk when they are damaged. Next up is Ambo, the mineral Pokemon. This ground and rock type has a heavy coating of amber around most of its body, jading its vision and smell, so it relies on its ultra-sensitive tongue to get a grip on its surroundings. It can literally taste smell. Thirdly is Twiglet, the Dweller Pokemon. This grass type was totally not the original grass starter, but I had to scrap it because I didn't really want a grass dragon type to be a starter. What? Oh, when born, it latches onto the stick that it was born to and clings to it until it falls off, in which case they just kinda tote it around, using it as a perch to get a higher view of things. Lastly is Donyon, the Starlight Pokemon. This cosmic kitten can sense impending meteorites and shooting stars with its sensitive whiskers. After rummaging around through the route, you can find your way to a Bloemfontein-based town called Willow City. This is the Heilige equivalent of Lumio City or Hammerlock, as it is the southern crossroads of the region as it connects to Willow City, the Moto Resort, and we'll go back to that, and a few places that I can't talk about just yet. Remember that weird document that Ricky gave you back in Domo City last episode? That'll come into play here when you meet Amaro, the fairy-type passage chieftain of this fair city. Beside her is a really relaxed dude named Orum, who is a passage chieftain of another area. Amara is a pop idol who also likes history because she's quirky like that. She sees that document sticking out of your bag and she snatches it. She's flabbergasted that a monkey handed you this very important document and tells you to meet her at the passage grounds up at the concert hall to have a look at the doodad, and you could get a jewel along the way. You agree and mosey on over there. Inside the concert hall, it is already packed with a concert underway, which is peculiar as the person on stage is Amara, which confuses us both greatly. Don't think about it too hard. So a Rite of Passage is you scaling up multiple floors of bleachers and seats and whatnot to get a high enough level for you to dive off into a crowd surf on stage into the battle arena. Amara is chilling with a Floette, Lotus, Astror, a fairy and psychic type Pokemon. Their mane glows in a particular pattern that reflects outer space, and early astrologists use their mane as a closer look at the stars, discovering alternate planets with them. And Zebu, which would be Amaro's ace, and the evolution of Folimber. This zebra has embraced their inner diva and will strut their stuff with swagger and charm. It is said that they were originally more wild, but thousands of years of domestication have transformed them into what they are today. After a trouncing, Amara rewards you with the Fey Jewel, and you are escorted to a backstage area where Amara agreed to fill in what the document has on it. It just so happens to be instructions on how to acquire yourself an injury in A. There's 2 keys to unlock its sanctuary, being a specific stone called the Heart of the Forest and a completed disc with 8 different gemstones embedded in it. Well, you are more than 3/4 of the way done with that whole ordeal now, so getting the other 2 should be a snap. After leaving, you see some scared Catalyst grunts running from an enraged Jazz. You stop Jazz in his tracks, with him spouting some nonsensical revenge shit. You then proceed to start smacking some sense into him. Jazz has a team that has since leveled up since your last encounter, having such Pokemon like Earthrush, Bronzong, the fully evolved starter that is better than yours, and Cobral, the evolution of Amboa. The minerals that previously covered its body has since now eroded and has made its body more sleek and malleable, while still retaining its metallic properties that it needs for survival. And we evolve Asteroid to get Roar, the Borealis Pokemon. Their mains contain star matter and can channel that power into powerful mighty roars that can attract shooting stars and meteors to help and aid attacking Pokemon. Wham bam shang-a-lang, you did it, you beat Jazz for the whateverth time. He chills out and you can sense that he's still really pissed off. I wonder why. Well, you can now go back to Route 8 from Willow City, which now extends into Route 10, where you can find a Pokemon like Heliolisk, Larvesta, Phanpy, and 4 new faces, including Pascal, the filterfish Pokemon. This enormous beast feeds not on flesh, but on souls. When a Pokemon dies near its waters, it will feed on its spirit. It has adapted to make water poisonous to drink because of it. Then there's Terratortoad, the Fizzle Pokemon. This tiny Todd packs a huge punch as it uses solar energy to charge giant fire blasts to keep people and Pokemon off its turf. Next is Hispark, the circuit Pokemon. This Pokemon's shell inspired scientists to base circuit boards off of them, effectively making them living blueprints of where technology really started to rise. Lastly, there's Nacrack, the rock-hard Pokemon. Nacrack keeps its head tucked inside its shell as it really doesn't like conflict. Rumor has it that whether or not it decides to peek its head out will determine how it evolves. After exploring that route, you can finally make your way to Sagrado City. There you meet up with Tondayari and Caitlin at the entrance of the city where they were chatting with somebody that you don't actually know until they walked away. Tone turns to you surprised because she was actually looking for you. She received a call from Amara and she filled her in about what you're doing, so she wanted to relay some information about where the heart of the forest might reside. Tone recites a poem, saying that, where once was nature, man came to stay. Beneath the mountains and the marsh, it's in the way. Where a river intersects them both, all beneath the earth, resides a key to a special one's birth. You piece together the geographical locations and deduce that it might be buried somewhere in Magosa City. Kaylin and Tone then proceed to go to her on that tip because they don't really want anyone else to be taken or brainwashed. You proceed to find a peculiar looking gate in the town where it houses 2 keyholes. Would you look at that, it's a circle and a rectangle. What could possibly fit in that? Well, here to regurgitate information is Salim, the passage chieftain of Sagrada City and the guardian of the entrance to the forest that this gate protects. Salim is a mad scientist hell-bent on the discovery of renewable energy because Sagrada's hydronuclear energy mix isn't really cutting it. Oh, and he also really wants to get into the forest without causing mass destruction, so there's that too. Well, in order to get closer to completing your task, you are gonna have to get that jewel from Salim, so you follow him back to his laboratory to attempt his Rite of Passage. His Rite of Passage is a giant circuit board puzzle where you have to route the blue and red wires to unlock the door to the center, which is an elevator that lowers you to the battle arena, where you can fight Salim, who has an Antolite, Magnezone, and 3 more Pokemon that you still haven't met yet. This is Virture Kid, the evolution of Hispark. This absolute unit of an electric and bug type can conduct electricity through any surface just by touching it. It can store up electricity in its special conductive veins and can redistribute it with lethal force. Next is Gleamer, the Power Core Pokemon. This electric and ground type are found near electrical plants and can plug themselves into outlets to charge themselves up. Don't let them sleep while plugged in though, they'll go nuts when they wake up. Lastly is this abomination also known as Ectoplasm, the Ectoplasm Pokemon. They secrete a bioluminescent fluid from all parts of their body and can use it in many different ways. It contains some radioactive elements in there, so it is generally advised not to touch it. Dabba-dee-dabba-dum, Salim is beaten and you get yourself his signature alongside the Generator Jewel. Woohoo! Only one more to go! After you leave the passage grounds, you meet up again with Jazz, who is panicked about something that you aren't aware of. Well, as he explains, while you and Salim were fighting in the lab, Magosa City has been completely taken over by Catalyst Grunts, and that Caitlyn and Tondayaru were both incapacitated, and the other 5 passage chieftains were making their way over there now. So while you and Jazz are scrambling to escape, Salim offers to take you there on his Antlight. You both agree, and holy hell, it's a whole new place! You infiltrate the new Magosa City, where it has been completely remodeled to act as a labyrinth, and around every corner is a Catalyst Grunt. You maneuver there with style and grace through the city, eventually making it to the monument in the center, where you find Austin. She is still really salty about her previous 2 defeats, and she insists that you have to fight her to get past. She carries a Ritanium, Baskel, her Ace Conkeldurr, and Spitetoad, the evolution of Nacrack. This ghost and rock type is extremely fragile and will hide in its shell to avoid most attacks, and is extremely vengeful and will go berserk when hit in the head. She glitches out again, possibly with a short circuit of her visor, and spills out her dear pal Willie and someone named Elliot have taken a funny looking route from below the monument and have made a beeline to Sagrado City alongside the passage chieftains. Jazz, who is unaware of who Austin is, asks who the hell she is, where she reveals that she's actually named Esh and that they've actually met back in Chitsamba City. At this point, she actually realizes where she is, looks at herself, and is panicking now because she isn't usually wearing stuff like this, and her hair is too straight, and everything is completely different from the more relaxed jungly setting of Chitsamba. You and Salim calm her down, but hey, would you look at that? We found Esh. Kamuzu should know about this as soon as possible, but you are here for another reason. Esh guides you to a small holding chamber that holds many different people, but notably a tied up Caitlyn and Tondayaru in goggles similar to what Austin had. Luckily they aren't awake, so you take them off with no problem, and Jazz, Esh, and Salim go do the same to the others in the room. Every so often, Esh will have episodes where she'll go from being Austin to Esh, even without the goggles, so Salim tries to help them get through it while they're trying to get out of this wretched place. While in a nice state, Esh tries to tell you that those goggles are brainwashing devices that they use to recruit people nowadays, and that if they were to have woken up, they would have fought you in all full force. After escaping to Route 9, Salim suggests that you go get that final jewel so you could stop Team Catalyst. He notes that Orm is a lazy bum that probably didn't go on the rescue mission, so there's a good chance to find him at the Moto Resort. You 4 part ways, with Salim and Esh heading back to Sagrado City, Jazz staying in Magosa to help clean up this mess, and you heading off to the Moto Resort. Well, the only way to get there is through Willow City, so after you get there, you find your way to Route 11, where you can find Mawile, Noibat, Nacrack, Virture Kid, Whimsicott, Cobra, Ectoplasm, and Gleamer, the swamp Pokemon. This little guy leverages its environment to scare away predators and hides when it's in danger. Its glare can pierce any will. Oh shit, you're here in the Moto Resort, and would you look at that, Orm is chilling under an umbrella with a beach chair and sipping on some tropical drinks. You tell him that 2 of the chieftains were held hostage 2 towns over, and he really didn't care. You tell him that it was Caitlyn and Tondayaru, and he immediately perks up, especially when you said Tondayaru. Heh. He starts freaking out and he wants to make it up to you by allowing you to attempt his fire type Rite of Passage. Yep, this slacker is the final hurdle in your quest to get all the requirements to get to the final part of the map. Orm's passage grounds are modeled after an ironworking plant, where you have to get iron from opposite sides of the passage grounds, put them through a machine, and flip switches and levers to melt them and shape them into a battlefield. As soon as you finish the whole ordeal, you approach Orm and challenge him to a battle. Orm is packing some serious heat using a Talonflame, Volcarona, and Crematoad, the evolution of Pterosauritoad. Their throats are filled with a special magma that can turn plants into ash with a single drop of it. It then eats the ash to fuel its attacks. Bowburn, the final evolution of Burleaf and Leaf Flare. This fire and grass type's temperament influences the power of its attacks that it dishes out. Lastly, Exploits is the other evolution of Nacrack. Their jaws are strong enough to crush stone and have found ways to move faster by blowing fire inside their shells to spin and move further faster. After a heated battle, Orym is defeated and you are awarded with his signature and the Blitz Jewel. Wahoo, you did it! Now you have to go to the other side of the region, back to Rite City. Orym gets a call from Selim and is filled in completely about the situation that transpired previously. He tells him that you are here with him and he asks if he should help with the crisis. Selim says that you should come back to Rite City ASAP. After zero time for reconsideration, you'll head over to Rite City to find a sight to behold. In front of the gate is William and Cassid, with Cassid holding the heart of the forest with the 6 chieftains that are there securing the perimeter. Akita is there with his golem, Kamuzu there with his Verbatera and Esh with their Conkeldor, Caitlyn is there with their Beware, and Ton chilling with their Mashreek, Amara is there with her Zebu, and Selim is there with his Ectoplasm. William is trying to get into the Willinzi forest, but with only one of the keys, he's powerless to do so. That is until he sees you with your now completed case and slowly starts walking to you, spouting shit like, "Me and Elliot are married and I've made trying to find injury and make our lives work. All we want to do is just finish what we started." He almost outright steals your jewel disc until Jazz and Chazia run up to come between you two. Chazia sends out her Slush-Depod and makes an ice wall to contain you, Jazz, William, and Cassid, and you four engage in a double battle. You are paired with Jazz, who has a Cobra, Aurora, the starter better than yours, and Junglian, the tropical jungle Pokemon. This grass and dragon type is the final evolution of Twiglet and can camouflage perfectly in a forest or jungle environment where they can get the jump on their opponents. William is toting a Baskel, Elefrost, and Knippadal, whilst Cassid has Ricky the Verbatera, Celestork, and Aardvenom. Obviously you beat them, and while they're down, you snatch that shiny rock from them and put both the heart of the forest and your disc into the keyholes. This opens up the gate, but also eats both of them up, meaning that you won't be getting your jewels back. You don't worry about that for right now, and you head into the forest alongside the chieftains. The Willinzi forest may look small, but that's because it is. The only thing of note here is a spark of light that, once prompted, transmutes into an Indriene. The heart of the forest unhinges itself from the door, prompting it to close and attaching itself as the orb that Indriene encircles, but Kamuzu and Verbatera manage to keep it open. You go and try and touch Indriene until you are shoved to the ground by Esh, who proceeds to throw a stolen Master Ball to catch Indriene. Kamuzu is shocked and lets go of the door. Verbatera, startled by Kamuzu, also lets go. Well shit, you're stuck. Esh turns around maniacally, Master Ball in hand, and puts on her visor. Most of the people are shocked at this revelation and proceeds to glitch out, switching from Austin to Esh and back again. With a good few seconds of hesitation and awe, Esh challenges you to a battle. This is by far the hardest battle in Toximon, having a Ritanium, Baskel, Spitort, Lemurk, Conkeldor, and Indriene. You scrape by and Esh is knocked out cold, Master Ball rolling out of her hand. Indriene escapes from it, and in an enraged state, you get to battle it with a chance to catch it. Assuming that you would catch it, you show everyone that you are the most powerful trainer in the region. Cassid and William scurry off, leaving Selim as the region's foremost professor about energy, Chazia crying, Kamuzu holding an unconscious Esh in his arms, and everyone else just flabbergasted. You leave Willinzi Forest with no disc in sight. Orym comes up to you and suggests that you could potentially use those signatures to gain entrance into the crowning ceremony on Ushindi Island. And that's your final spot, Chief. That's where the region's interpretation of the Pokemon League takes place. The only thing that can ferry you across is in the Yari Cape, so you head over there and take the ferry to Ushindi Island. Standing between you and your final challenge is Victory Road, which is a jungle labyrinth where you can find Crematoad, Cobalt, Teratoratoad, Astroar, Wambu, Hippowdon, Ferocicroc, Lemurk, Gleamer, Seismitoad, Parasect, Spikeoil, Ninjask, Glacial, Sprouville, the bamboo Pokemon. When hatched, it tries to find a bamboo sprout to take residence in, feeding off of it until it grows big enough to evolve. And lastly, there's Sticamo, the ranger Pokemon. Sticamo travels in packs, concealing itself in nature so it can topple predators. Some of these packs can range up to over 100 of them and can make complex shapes like trees. At last, you made it to the wait. Blocking the exit is none other than Jazz for his final rival battle. His team consists of Cobalt, Earthrush, Junglian, Aurora, Bronzong, and his starter. Outside Victory Road is the Kumaliza Tribal Grounds, the site of the crowning ceremony. This isn't like your typical Pokemon League, no sirree. The conditions to be crowned champion is to beat every single Passage chieftain. Granted, all the chieftains will only have a team of 3, but that's still 32 Pokemon that you have to beat in order to fight the previous crowned champion. So, without further ado, let's get it. First off is Akita, who starts strong with a Flygon, Excadrill, and Golem. Kamuzu brings a Parasect, Huttall, and Vervatera, while Caitlyn has her Lafayette, Beware, and Spike Oil. Chazia is chilling with her Seismitoad, Titalo, and Slushtopod. Tondayari has a Shedinja, Bayonet, and Mashreek. Amara has a Roar, Florges, and Zebute. Salim has an Antolite, Magnezone, and Uroplasm. And lastly, Aurum has a Volcarona, Chromatoad, and ends with an Exploit. After all of them have been defeated, you are floored to find that the crowned champion is William? What the fuck? That's right, good old Willie is Heilige's first crowned champion, and due to the distinct lack of challengers, in no small part thanks to the rugged, uncharted environment, has been sitting there as champion for 20 long years. He grew complacent and wanted more, hence why he wanted to start looking for injury and aid. He found love with Cassid after a shared mutual bitterness for the stagnant region that is Heilige, and wanted to reconnect with his son, but how would he do so? After Sobsor, you finally fight William in a one-on-one in a 6v6 Pokemon battle for the ultimate title in the Heilige region. William is packing a Cobalt, Elefrost, Bowburn, Ardvenom, Celestork, and Canipadile. After his defeat, he relinquishes the title to you and heads towards the jungle, where he'd live in solitude for the rest of his days. That's it, Toxicrew. That is the main story of Toximon, but that doesn't mean we're done yet. I want to dedicate one last episode of Toximon to show what the post-game story would entail. They would tackle the left side of the region, which is hidden behind the mighty mountains. What could be over there? What could possibly interest the young cartographer that you are, and what new Pokemon could possibly be over there? Stay tuned to find out in Toximon Episode 5, coming this fall. But other than that, a big thank you to the patrons and Twitch subscribers. If you want to support me, go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Toxiquid. But for right now, it's time to start work on the next custom moveset video, Minecraft Steve. It's time to get that ball rolling. Thank you so much for watching, and keep on crack-a-lackin'.